And once again, if everyone would please sign in. There's just two of you, but that's two people that count. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. 1557 is your event ID if you're on the form. We're going to talk about commercial water heating. We're going to talk about the Triton first. Then we're going to segue right on into commercial tankless. So here we go. Agenda sustainability. I'm going to show you a short sustainability video again. I say again because you might have been on the last one that we did, and I show this on all of them. Rheem's proud of their sustainability. Give me a few seconds here. I'll get this video going. It'll take about a minute and a half or so, and then we'll get into the PowerPoint.
At Rheem, we're proud to make bold commitments for 2025 to dramatically reduce our impact on the environment. We are committed to addressing the labor shortage and increasing training needs facing our industry, and we see a future with zero waste in the use and manufacturing of our products. That's why we are designing for zero waste. We are reimagining our products to slash greenhouse gas emissions, refining our processes to drastically reduce our carbon footprint and landfill waste, all while training plumbers and contractors on how to install, monitor, and maintain sustainable products to perform as efficiently as possible. From the very beginning, we've integrated sustainable thinking into everything we do. And as the leader of a global family of brands, we will deliver greater performance while contributing to something greater than ourselves. Creating solutions that truly make a difference. Delivering a greater degree of good.
All right. Bear with me here for a second. Okay. Like I said, we're going to talk about Triton first. It's the most intelligent, high-efficiency water heater ever built. What we're going to do today, we're going to touch mainly on all the high points. I'm going to do a little bit of technical, but not in depth. If you are interested in doing in-depth technical training, we can do that. Just need to get a hold of me, Diane Cabral, Cooper at VEIC, Matt Kilcoyne. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started now. So, a little quick video on the Triton. All right. Screen. All right. Triton. was a collaborative design. Our engineers, about 4 years ago, decided that our Spider Fire, which was then our high efficiency tank gas commercial water heater, was lacking. We needed to update it and make it better. So they started about 4 years ago, pulling in different contractors from around the country, doing different voice of customer things, asking them, what do you like about the Spider Fire? What do you like about the Cyclone? What do you like about the Bradford White commercial heater? Taking all their likes and dislikes about all these heaters. And that went together with our engineers, and that's what put this, how the Triton came about. It was built with plumbers and the consumer in mind. We have two versions of the Triton. We have a 80-gallon and 100-gallon. 80-gallon comes in 130 to 300,000 BTU. The 100-gallon comes in 130 up to 400,000 BTU. Also, first quarter, I've been told, of 2021, next year, we will have a 125-gallon up to 500,000, or I'm sorry, I think 750 is going to be the max on it. Right now, this is what's available, though. Ultra low NOx elevations, like we talked about, and other. It's I think you all get up around 4,000 feet there, maybe in parts of Vermont. Altitude is not going to affect this thing. It'll work up to 8,900 feet. When you look at the size and the diameter, it's very similar, within an inch or so, of the Cyclone and the other commercial heaters are out there, so it'll fit right in. It's a real good replacement unit. 98% efficient, comes in both gases. Now you look there at the weight. This is a heavy heater. That 100-gallon, you're looking at 725 to 775 pounds, depending upon the BTU, because of the burner size. Now, with that being said, this is a lot heavier than the other commercial heaters out there, but it's because we use ASME steel in our heat exchangers, which make it last, and it's almost bulletproof, and the way the construction of the heater itself. So let's get on through this. We also have leak sense and leak guard, which we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and fully modulating burner. Okay, you got two models. You got the SU and the SS. The SU is 130 to 140,000 BTU. It's got leak sense. It's a retrofit. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Health checks, built-in condensate, neutralizer. That's a big deal depending upon what area you're in. A lot of areas now, it's becoming code where you have to put a neutralizer on any high efficiency product because of the acidity of the condensate. It's EcoNet, integrate Wi-Fi, power anodes. There's 3 in our unit. I'll talk about those in a little bit. Like I said, full modulation and a 3-year warranty. Now you have all that in the Triton SS, plus you get leak guard now, which is a shutoff valve, not just leak sense, but a valve that'll shut the water off. Integrated BMS connectivity with BACnet, energy usage reports, and a 5-year warranty now out of the box, or out of the crate, 5-year warranty. Also keep in mind, with the SS model, if you order ASME version, so a stamped ASME version of the SS model, you can upgrade that 5-year warranty to a 15-year full replacement, non-prorated warranty, which that's a pretty big deal in a commercial application. But that's how strongly they believe in this heater and how long it's going to last. Some of the things we're going to touch base on, the power anodes, like I said, I'll talk about those here in a few minutes. We have hot water inlets and outlets. It's complete. It's a universal retrofit. This thing will go in anywhere. If you have a Cyclone, a bank of them sitting there, you can cut one of them out if it's bad, leaking, slide a Triton in its place, and there is no repipe involved. Everything drops in right where it was on the Cyclone. Touch screen display. It's full color. You see your BACnet plug there on the side. It's already there. Like I said, there's an EcoNet port there also for service. You don't need to plug in, obviously, for the Wi-Fi. You can set temperature. You can monitor health. view the alarm codes and error codes with it through this touch screen. It's just everything you need to know about this heater is right there. The hot water inlets and outlets, like I said, this is a universal retrofit. So there's 2-inch cold front and back, 2-inch hot front and back. Then to match the cyclone, right up on top in the center, there's 1.5 inches hot out. These all come with plugs from the factory. So you don't have to worry about taking plugs or buying plugs. If you're going to use the 2-inch on the back or whatever, the plugs are there to plug the holes that you're not using. The 1.5 inches on top comes already plugged from the plant. You do have to unplug it if you're going to use it. And the reason it comes plugged from the plant is because if you're not replacing a cyclone, a lot of guys don't think about that water outlet up there. They might not put that plug in, and you start filling this thing up, you're going to have a mess. Your burner assembly. One of the things about this burner assembly I want to point out, if any of you are familiar with the old Spider Fire, or the predecessor to this, if anything happened on that burner assembly, you had to replace the entire assembly. The blower, the burner, all of it had to be replaced. It was one complete assembly, and it was about $1,700 to replace. The Triton is not that way. The Triton, every component can be replaced on the Triton burner assembly. So anything that goes out can be switched, fixed, and done very, very economically. Your gas intake is up there, obviously, your air intake, your ignition control, and your anode control box. This is a triple pass down-fired heat exchanger. And you see all the tubing there. That's why this thing is so heavy. And like I said, this is all built out of ASME steel. Now I'm going to slide one slide past this to show you the burner a little bit better, or the heat exchanger. As you can see, there's that center tube coming down. That's a 6-inch tube off your burner coming down. Your heat, you're going to come down through there. You're going to go back up through 4 2-inch, and then there's a manifold at the top that then redirects it down through 6.5 inches down and out the boot at the bottom. Temperature of the flue gas in that 6-inch in the center is between 1,600 and 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit. By the time it comes out the boot on the lower right side there, it's at around 135 to 140 degrees. That's why we're able to use PVC, and that's how much heat we extract out of the flue gases as they're going through this heat exchanger. The power anodes, I told you there's 3 of them. There's 1 in the front in the center, and then there's 2 in the back, 1 high and 1 low. We put 3 of those in there. Unlike everybody else who only uses 1, we use 3 because of shadowing. Think of this as like when you're driving around. If you're old enough to remember AM radio, when you're driving through town or you drove under a bridge or a tunnel, you lost your signal. Well, you do that today with satellite. Well, that's shadowing. And that's what happens with a power anode. It's generating current, putting it into that water, but there are shadows in there from the heat exchanger that it's not hitting. By putting 2 in the front, or 2 in the back and 1 in the front, top, high, low, and middle, now we are covering about 98% of that tank is getting covered and protected. So it helps that tank last longer. Eliminate the emergency. That's what we call this. The leak sense and the leak guard. This is the leak sense we're going to talk about first. The way this works, you see that little red jacketed leak sensor right there in the bottom of the unit. That's in an internal pan that we have on the unit. Any water, anything leaks on this heater, or there's a leak above it, whatever it is, the way the jacket's designed, it'll come down and it gets directed into that pan. Once you have 24 ounces of water in this pan, the water's up high enough, it hits the bottom of this red sleeve you see. There's a white rope in there. I'm going to show you a picture of it just here in a second. That's your leak detection. Trips it, says, hey, I got a leak. I've got water here. Goes up to the controller. The controller then starts flashing yellow, starts beeping. And then if you have it hooked up to Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or if you've got BACnet, it's going to send a signal to if it's Wi-Fi, to a phone or the owner's phone, text phone, whoever's got it. So you know you've got your an issue now, and you can take care of it. This is what that leak detection looks like. What you're seeing there, this white rope is similar to what you see in the Honeywell leak detection systems, whole house systems that people have. That rope, you lay it on the floor. If water gets on it, it sends a signal through the rope up to the controller and says, hey, we've got a problem, we've got a leak. By putting it in this jacket, at top is solid on there. This keeps from, we call it a splash guard. If they're mopping a floor in the room where this heater's sitting or spraying down a floor or something, water can shoot into here. As long as it doesn't fill that pan up 24 ounces of water, it's not going to set off. You're not going to get a false positive or a false alert if it hits the top. If that wasn't on there, you would. There's also 2 magnets here. That keeps this thing secure right there in the bottom in that pan where it's supposed to be. It doesn't move around. It stays where it's supposed to. Now, once you've detected the leak, we've got our auto shutoff valve with a leak guard if you have the SS model. The way this works, once that detects a leak, it sends a signal to the control board. The control board then sends a signal down to this valve, and that actuator is going to shut that ball valve out and keep any more water from coming into that tank. By doing that, it creates a vacuum lock, just like if you take a straw and put it in a soft drink, put your thumb over it, pick it up, take your thumb off, everything falls out of the straw. Same way here. As long as nothing's opened up, nobody opens a sink, no more than 24 ounces of water is going to leak out of this thing, and it's going to stop and it's going to hold. Now, this valve is programmable. You can program, let's say this is in a restaurant where they can't be without hot water between 9 and 10 or 8 and 9 or rush hour for breakfast or brunch, whatever it may be. This thing detects a leak, it shuts the water off, they're down, they can't, that can't happen, they've got to keep operating. You can program this so that it doesn't shut off during those peak times. It just sends the alarm out and says, hey, we've got a leak, I've got a problem here, you need to address it. It'll send the alert to the owner or to the technician or whoever his maintenance guy is if he wants to set it up that way, and won't shut the water off. Also, if this thing does shut off, you can manually override it. It's easy to do with, you got the EcoNet, there's just you pull the app up on your phone, touch a button, it's going to open back up, or you can also close it if you want to from that app. So it is manually, you can manually override it or override it with the EcoNet. The other thing is, we all know ball valves get sticky and freeze up if they're not operated regularly. Over time, from minerals and different things, they lock up. This thing will actually works this about every 48 hours. It takes about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and it usually does it between midnight and 6 a.m. What it'll actually do is it'll pay attention to how you're using water, the board will up top, and it does it when you're down times, when you're not using water is when it's going to do this, and it's going to exercise that ball valve and completely turn it off and open it back up 2 times or 3 times in about a 2 to 3 minute period, and that keeps that valve lubricated so it doesn't lock up and freeze up on you. The flow sensor on the SS with the leak guard and that valve, that's that nipple you see on the outside. It's on the inlet side of the shutoff valve. That's where you're going to get your water usage. It's telling you how much water how much water you've used, how many gallons. It's pre-installed just like the valve. The other thing on that valve, it comes pre-installed on the front, cold inlet obviously on the front, on the bottom. If you need to put it around back because of the piping situation you're in, when I said this is a retrofit, it is. All you have to do is take that valve off, unscrew the nipples, move them around to the back, and it comes with an extension cable that you can plug in to run the wiring around and plug that valve in, so you can move it to the back if you need it there. Electrical amperage on this thing, it only pulls 7 amps. So for all intents and purposes, you'll never see this, you could put 2 units and hook them to a 15 amp breaker. It's all you need for it. You're not going to see that, I don't think. I don't think I've ever seen anything hooked to a 15 amp breaker in a commercial situation, but you could if you wanted to. As far as approved venting materials, PVC, CPVC, ABS, Polypro. I like the Polypro myself just because of the weight. It's extremely lightweight, works real well. Higher temperatures than PVC as far as what it can handle. And it's flame retardant, meets some ASME requirements that PVC and these other materials don't. We use Centrotherm, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, their plant is either in Vermont or New Hampshire, and I can't remember which one, but it's right up there by you all up in the Northeast. The venting links. You can vent this thing. You can power direct vent or power vent. So you can use room air if you're replacing a 80% boiler or an old 80% atmospheric heater. You want to use it. You want to use room air and just power vent it. You can do that with the Triton. It's capable of that. Also, your venting links, you can go up to 185 feet if you power vent, up to 135 feet if you're power direct venting using a 2-pipe system. The other thing to keep in mind, if you use a 2-pipe system, the inlet and the outlet should be about 15-foot difference, no more than 15 feet. So if you run 150 feet on your inlet or your outlet, you need to run no more than 135, or I'm sorry, you need to be between 135 and 165 feet. So you got to be right in that 15 feet. However, it doesn't have to be balanced. And by balanced, what I mean is you don't have to use the same plane. Let me see, I think the next slide shows that. No, it doesn't. Hang on. No. Same plane, what I mean by that, if you take on a Spider Fire, Cyclone, Bradford White, all of them, if you take your outlet out the east wall, your exhaust, you have to take your inlet out the east wall. Okay, they have to be on the same plane. Triton doesn't have to be that way. You can take one out the east, one out the west. You can take one out the roof and one out the wall. Or you can power vent, like I said. What they did here is okay, except they didn't do it properly. You can use B-vent for a sleeve. I've seen guys do it. It makes sense. Hey, why core and put another hole in the roof? You've already got a 12-inch hole there. If I can get 4-inch pipes up through there, or 3-inch, or whatever I'm running, why not do it that way? Makes sense. So they got 2 units down below here. They've got their exhaust and their intake coming out here. What they failed to do, the exhaust side of that should have been up another 12 to 14 inches at least, and terminated with a T instead of a 90. What they're doing there is they're blowing their exhaust down. So if there's any cross breeze there, it's pushing it over and getting taken right back into the intake side. So you're sucking your exhaust back in your intake, and you're going to have errors and you're going to have failed ignitions. So just keep that in mind. Another way to vent this is certified to use flex vent. Flex vent is something that Centrotherm came up with. It's corrugated, comes in a coil, 30 and 40 foot coils, I believe. The way it works, if you were going in and replacing an 80%, an atmospheric, and you had that B vent going up through there, you're going to power vent this thing. You don't need to run the intake. You use this flexible. One guy gets up on the roof, feeds it down through the B vent, and it has clips to hold it in the center of the B vent as it's coming down. That B vent can make it turn, take a 45, as long as it doesn't take more than a 45. You can't run it on a 90. It has to be 45 is the maximum angle. But as long as if it's got a 45, it'll follow that 45. It's going to come right down, pop out the ceiling right there above the heater. At that point, you yell up, he terminates it on the roof, and you hard pipe it up to the top, or from the roof, or from the ceiling down to the exhaust boot. The reason they want that hard piped and not done like it is on the left, the flex all the way down, that is flex. So if somebody's in a mechanical room or something where they're storing stuff, something could fall against this or push up against it and crush it, and it would create an issue. Like I said, this goes right down through the B vent. They're showing you that there. There's the termination kit up top. That termination kit is a universal kit. It'll fit everywhere, everything from 6-inch all the way up to, I believe, 12-inch B vent. So just about any B vent you can use for a sleeve there and make this work. It's going to save you a ton of time too. All right, allowable gas piping. Galvanized, polyvinyl chloride, PVC, all this flexible, we allow all of it, okay? The only thing I want you to keep in mind when you're looking at flex or corrugated track pipe, if you're using 3/4, make sure it's 3/4 ID. Some track pipes come CSST size, copper tube size, so when it says 3/4, it's actually a 5/8 ID. It's not a 3/4 ID. Make sure you're using 3/4 ID pipe when you're feeding this unit. The other thing is, if you put a regulator on this unit, the minimum distance from your regulator to your gas valve should be between 8 and 10 feet, no closer. And that's because the way this burner works, like I said, it's fully modulating. This thing fires up. If it's a 199,000 BTU unit, it fires at 199,000 BTU and then backs down to what it needs to heat the water where it needs to heat. So it's just, I like to, it's similar to when you're at your car at a stoplight. When you step on the gas, you don't just barely step on the gas. When you're starting out, you're going to push on that gas pedal and then you back off of it and get to your cruising speed. Same thing with this burner. If you have that regulator sitting too close to that gas valve, the volume won't be there. So when it tries to fire, it's going to be trying to pull gas through that regulator, and it can't feed it quick enough. So it's going to sit there and chatter, and you're going to eventually wear it out. Always put at least 8 to 10 feet between that regulator and that gas valve. Your health alerts, like I said, if you've got this EcoNet, if you've got the app, you can get this on your phone, or what they're showing you here is on the screen, the full color display I showed you. The top one is your combustion health. It takes things like your flame ignition, your pressure switches, all those things play into that. Your blower, how many failed attempts it's had at lighting, if you have got a bad ground or something and the spark's not good and it's failing as far as lights, it's taken 2 or 3 times to ignite. All that plays into this combustion health, and that's going to be down from green into the white or the yellow or orange, depending upon what's going on with that heater. If everything's the way it's supposed to be, it should be sitting up there in that green. Those power anodes I was talking to you about before, there's 3 of them. They're operated by a little control box up on top of the unit. That control box actually induces milliamps of voltage into the water through those power anodes. And then, as we all know, the way that works, an anode, that as long as that current that is hitting the bare steel spots on the inside of that tank, as that glass cracks, as long as that current's hitting that steel, it can't oxidize or rust, and that's how an anode protects a heater. So the more power this thing's having to put out, so the more bare spots, it detects that as the current's being pulled through there. It has to put more current in there. The more power it's using is where this green and that tank health is going to drop. We say eliminate the emergency. What we're talking about there is if this gets down in that white, this tank, let's say, is 8, 10, 12 years old, and you're down in that white on tank health, at that point, you've got options. You don't have to wait for that thing to fail and then be in a crisis situation. Rather than that, okay, we're down here in the white now. Talk to the owner. The owner looks at it. He says, yeah. He says, well, you may have a month. You may have 6 months. You may have a year. So you set a time 3 months out. 3 months out, I'm going to replace this heater. So you get it all set, so it's all done, and there's no emergency now. Now it's all planned. They talked to the customers out there, and they asked them what they liked, what they were looking for in heaters. This is back in 2015 and 2016. Water leak alerts was a big deal. People really liked that, and they wanted that. VMS came in there, but water leak alerts was really big. These are all the things that the Triton has. It's got all that. One of the things people do, they hook into it, is main reasons for remote control, because you can do everything, like I said, from your phone if you have that Ethernet app that you can do from that touch screen. So you can change temperatures, you can look at health alerts, you can look at everything through your phone on that. If you have the Econet, the Wi-Fi, you can have multiple units sitting out there. So you could have 6 apartment buildings that have 6 Tritons sitting in them. You got a maintenance guy that's responsible for all 6 of them. If you've got Wi-Fi available and you can tie each one of these units into the Wi-Fi, he has the app on his phone. Now, if any one of them have an alert or a problem, it's going to notify him and let him know that. By doing that also, he can look and see what the problem is. He can see what the error code is. So he's got a better chance of having what he needs when he goes in there to fix it than having to make several trips. So it's going to save time there too. This slide doesn't work for some reason. The BMS obviously works the same way. You can have multiple units. Like I said, it's BMS and BACnet. It's already on the unit. All you have to do is plug into it and let it go. Okay, I'm going to talk about commercial tankless for a few minutes. I'm going to show you another quick video real quick. Maybe if I can find the start arrow. All right, as you can see, that thing is really going to save you some time as far as piping and plumbing. These units can be bought individually, or they can be bought in the rack system like they're showing there. Well, we also have, you look right here, this Easy Rack kit. It takes about 5 minutes to put that rack together. So if you're in a situation where you don't have a wall that's handy to hang this thing on, but you need to go tankless, this Easy Rack system takes, like I said, 5 minutes to put together. You anchor it to the floor. You can hang one unit on the front, one on the back. So you could put back-to-back units on here like this, or you can put them side by side and you just add racks to it. As far as the rack, the tankless system here on the far right, this thing, I'm going to show you the different configurations it comes in. But you order this, it comes with the CM model. You remember they said a C model or CM? This comes with a CM model, so it can be daisy chained, one controller at the end taking care of it. So what you see, if you look over to the left, the CM model is going to have that communication module already in it. The C model does not have that communication module. Like I said, you've got indoor and outdoor versions of both of them. 199,000 BTU is all this comes in a commercial. So that's that 95 model in either natural gas or LP. It is not field convertible, gentlemen. So if you need, and ladies, if you need LP, order LP. If you need natural, order natural, okay? They're all condensing. The outdoor model, people say up where you're at, I've had people, guys from in Michigan tell me, well, outdoor doesn't really work. They do work in that area. Reason being, we're not going to get into the technical side so much in here, like I said, but I am going to tell you, this unit will protect itself to 30 below zero, okay? The indoor and the outdoor unit. They'll protect themselves to 30 below zero as long as there's electric power to the unit. All right, so you can put these outside. You just have to protect all your pipe underneath because it doesn't protect the pipe, but it'll protect itself in the cabinet and it won't freeze. Max temp on these 185 degrees. The isolation or service valves are included with the tankless if you order the individual units. You can direct vent or power vent. You can do both with the commercial unit if you have sufficient makeup air to power vent. We follow National Fuel and Gas Code, so you got to make sure you got enough makeup air there. But if you do, then you can power vent these. As far as inline common venting, like I said, you can put up to 20 of these together. You could vent up to 10 of these on 10-inch. I believe. I can't see. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I can move. Yeah. You can vent up to 10 of these, 85 feet, common vent. Okay, I said you could do 20 of these. You'd have to do a set of 10 and another set of 10, obviously. So you'd have to vent, you'd have 4 vents going out instead of just 2. But you can common vent up to 10 of them together. And the lengths, if you look at it, up to 100 feet. Hang on. Okay, back-to-back venting, up to 100 feet, up to 8 units on back-to-back, okay? Remember that back-to-back rack system I showed you? Same thing here. You got 6 of them there, 3 of them on each side, common vent them. Now, this centrotherm that we use for the common venting, these kits for the inline or the back-to-back, these kits you can buy from Rheem. And it's all these centrotherm parts to put this together. Now, from this point on, if you've got, let's say you're 20 feet over and you got 3 90s and a 45 to get out the roof or out a wall, you're responsible for that pipe. You have to order that from Centrotherm. But you can order these kits to do all your, this piping. You can get all that from Rheem with the unit when you get it. As far as the configurations, you saw the wall hung. Say in a restaurant, I just did one of these down in Lexington. There's actually 3 of them. They did a 3 unit, and it only comes in 3 unit on the wall hung, and that's because of weight. Unless you're in a situation where you got a crane in there, 3 of these is all you want to get up on a wall to hang. But you can order 2 or 3 of these, just like this, set up, common venom. Wall mount, same thing, up to 3 of them side by side. Wall mount's got half that floor base that you saw before. They're showing these, some of these in outdoor units, some in indoor units. This is the back-to-back. You can get up to 6 of these back-to-back. So if you needed 18 units, you'd have 3 sets of 6 sitting side by side. Now, when you set them side by side, the way these connections are right here, you just slide the next 6 in, you connect them right here, your gas, everything, boom, boom. So you still have 1 connection on each end, just like you show here. And these are the different configurations on the back-to-back. You can go 2 back-to-back, 2 on one side. Everything you see here you can order, and these are the numbers for it. Questions?